Your life. You hear that ticking? That's your life ticking away by you continuously doing porn over and over. That click you just made, it can be a life-changing click. Stay tuned. Just don't click. That's a life-changing click you just made. I'm Joseph F. Price. Don't let your life tick away like that. Okay, here's what we're doing. I know a lot of different resources that can help you get rid of your porn habit. Groups, one-on-one coaching, all different kinds of things to help you. Life doesn't have to be a click to no end. This particular click can be a click that changes your life. You got to reach out. You got to ask for help. The number one thing that people miss in this journey is they try to do it by themselves. The number one thing that makes a difference is when they have a mentor to help them do it. Let me show you, let me find some help. Let's talk about changing, cuz you don't have any more time to just sit here and keep on doing porn over and over and over again. And then in the back half of this particular recording, we're going to talk about why it's so difficult to quit porn if you can take the time. If you don't have the time, just reach out, fill out the card, leave your name. We'll set up a time when we can get together on the phone or via Zoom and discuss a plan so that you can actually have sobriety and freedom and that you don't have to look like that guy burning up. That's what your head looks like. All that porn. You look like a guy that's burning up. Again, I'm Joseph F. Price, life coach Joseph Price. Leave me a message, fill out the card. Let's get started. So, what I want to talk about right now, before you leave, if you decided to stay, is why it is so hard to quit. Because it is hard to quit. And there's a reason for that, obviously. So, what's that reason? I mean, maybe you've heard that word dopamine. Okay, I've heard that word dopamine. But it's not just dopamine. So, if you don't know what dopamine is like a pleasure neurochemical in the brain that makes you feel good and remembers where you got the feel good from. And so it causes you to return to the place that you got all of that excitement from. All right. But it's not just dopamine. It's actually 5 different neurochemicals that you're actually addicted to, and not just dopamine. There's one called norepinephrine. There's one called vasopressin. There's one called oxytocin, which is a real neat one because that's like the one that you it comes up when you hug like your baby or pet, oxytocin. And then, of course, serotonin's involved. So there's a lot of neurochemicals that are going on. And so when the porn, masturbation, and ejaculation process occurs, PMO, as they might call it in the street, what happens is all of those neurochemicals get released and flushed in your brain all at one time. And your brain was not really meant for that. So you actually get hyperstimulated. So, like I just finished saying, your brain is not meant to do that. So, what your brain does is it desensitizes itself. So, what happens is you compensate for that desensitization by escalating in some way, shape, or form, whether it's dramatic, upping the ante in terms of how dramatic the porn that you're watching is. In some cases, that's one of the reasons why people look at illegal porn. Uh, they either escalate it that way or they escalate it by the amount of time that they put into it. So that always happens. Is always going to be something that escalates. So basically, I want to talk about some of the things that are missing for you. And I think one of the things that's missing for you is that you don't have a recovery plan, like a real intentional recovery plan. So I might go all over the place in the conversation because I'm trying to cover a lot. in a short amount of time. This is a complex situation. So when I say a recovery plan, you're missing a recovery plan. I'm looking for my notes if I seem a little bit distracted. I'm trying to put them up on the screen. So that's number one that's missing for a lot of people. They don't have a recovery plan. And a lot of people, the first thing that they say is like, what do you mean by recovery plan? A recovery plan is, okay, in order to become like addicted, you had to put a lot of time in. And because you put a lot of time in, certain things happen. And because of those certain things that have happened, and we'll get to talking about what those certain things are. You think a certain way, your focus is a certain focus. You tend to look at certain things. Your tolerance for certain things is lower than certain people. You get frustrated faster. You may have a lot of friends, but you don't connect so well with people. And maybe all of this isn't you, but most of it is. And so there's a lot of things that have happened along the way as a result of your porn use. And those things that have happened are actually things that keep you exactly where you are. And so if your strategy or if your plan is to just, oh, I'm not going to do it, as in rigor and discipline, that's not a plan, because there's actually a war that's going on against you that you have to be bigger than and fight. And so if you don't know what the war is, then you're destined to lose. And that's why you're losing right now, quite frankly. I'm not here to offend you. I'm not here to do that, but I'm here to, if you have an addiction to pornography, there's a reason for it. And one of the reasons is that you're losing the war of having control over yourself. And one of the reasons that you're losing the war is because part of the war, until you make it conscious, it's pretty much entirely unconsciously against you. So recovery is really a journey of becoming intentional and conscious about certain things that make you become a different person so that you become porn free. See, here's what a lot of people want to do. They want to not do porn. Like they don't want to bite their nails. It's not that kind of party, folks. It's a lot more complicated. And it's not just behavior. It is behavior. And it is, okay, let me explain what it is. It's behavior modification beyond what you even think it is, because it's so ingrained, so much unconscious going on. So yeah, it is behavior modification. However, people tend to do porn because it's a self-soothing mechanism that they picked up in their adolescence. It's a self-soothing coping mechanism that was a childhood escape that has transcended itself and become an adult problem for you. And so for the most part, it's something that, hey, it's just something you do. Ain't nothing wrong with this. And all that stuff that you tell yourself, until one day you have a day of reckoning where either your penis isn't working, or your girlfriend catches you, or your wife catches you, or, I don't know what it is. You have a day of reckoning, and then you realize that's not working, and then you try to quit it and you find out you can't. And so the reason you can is because, again, you have to learn how to behave differently, heal from whatever it was that you were escaping from when you were younger. And then, since you've been engaged in this addiction for a while, you've done some damage to yourself. You got to heal from that too. And then you become about the business of doing what it was that you were here to do in life, to do something magnificent. And so often, I mean, if your approach was to to just get off of porn, it'll never work that way. See, that's not gonna happen. This is not like not doing nails. Even if you wanted to quit smoking cigarettes, which is like, I don't know, the second or third toughest addiction, you don't have to become a different person. But see, the thing is you have to become a different person. And that's the thing that people don't want to do. See, part of your personality is that you have a pornified mind. And so I could go into, like, a whole hour on what is the pornified mind, but I'll give you some hints, how you look at each girl. And then people have a tendency to look at certain parts of each girl, and so on and so on and so on and so on. That's a training, and how you try to get these extra peaks and all of that stuff like that, or just how you behave in the context. I often tell people that they earn an addiction. So when I say you earn an addiction, that means there's things that you're doing to be your worst enemy. And so part of not being addicted to something is understanding and learning how you are, in fact, being your worst enemy. Now, a couple of things that maybe you haven't thought about that I want you to know that might be hindering your recovery if you're trying to do it on your own is that this is about a mindset change. Like, if you want to recover, you got to be a different person, like I just finished saying, and that different person actually thinks differently and behaves differently. You also, it's a heart change, right? So, like, I've seen people, they actually quit for like a year, and then the next thing they know, they're acting out again, and they're like, I can't believe this. That's because you took the porn out of the man. You took the porn away from the man, but you didn't take the porn out of the man. And so you have to take not only the porn away from the man, but you have to take the porn out of the man. And some of it seems a little bit weird at first, but again, it's what you have to do. And the recovery process is understanding what are the missing ingredients in your journey. Because, like, what you may be doing is picking one good idea here and picking another good idea here. First and second of all, you don't have enough ideas. And then third of all, it's not about picking an idea. It's actually about a lot of stuff working in your favor, such that they actually become your soldiers. Because, see, what's happening as I said, you earn an addiction. So that means that you must be doing some things that support the addiction. And part of not being addicted is not doing those things. But, like, you want it to happen instantly, and it's not an instant process. This is a journey. It's not going to happen like that. It's just not going to happen like that. And that's one of, when I say mind change and heart change, that's part of what you have to do. You have to, like, okay, embrace this thing. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to do the stuff that people that are not addicted did, so that I can be not addicted. right? I can't expect not to be addicted until I do what people that were addicted and aren't addicted now do and did. And that's basically what any recovery program is going to teach you: what people did, what they do. And if you did and do what they did and do, you'll have recovery too. And the reason why you have addiction is that you do and you did what people that are addicted do and did. Okay. So that's so much of what recovery is about and what you're not doing. It's a reverse of everything in a way. It's a reverse of everything that you're doing. But the thing is, if you think you can figure that out, you can't, because of the fact that you don't know everything that you're doing, because you're not paying attention, because part of addiction is putting a cloud over your consciousness. So I know you're not paying attention. If you were paying attention, we wouldn't be having this conversation a long time ago. If you were paying attention, you can't get here paying attention. And that's part of what we want to do. And here's a thought. Why is it, and I said that 3 times on purpose. Why is it that I know that within 5 minutes of you getting up every day, the first thing you do is you touch your phone? I don't even know where my phone is. But anyway, that's what you do. And why is it that I can sit here and know that? See, because I know that you do certain things. And I can help point out what those things are. Not just the phone. It's probably about 500 things you do. And taking them out of your life, and then the porn goes away. See, you got to remember that your porn addiction has legs in order to stand up. It can't stand up on its own. It's got legs. And the reason why it still exists is because you haven't attacked the legs. And you'll never attack the legs until you begin to get some information, read some books, get some information. This is a plan. This is a complex stuff. If you think, going and taking a shower, if you think having somebody, oh, he didn't answer my phone call, that's why I relapsed. If your recovery is about somebody answering a phone call, your phone call, no. Your recovery is about, it's a deliberate process, my friends. It's a deliberate process that you have to do daily. Recovery is not something that you do one and done. See, that's one of the things I always try to teach guys up front, is that one of the things that happens when uh, you're living in your addiction is that your thinking is like event. Boom, event, boom, event, boom, event. Versus, whoa, wait a minute. Things are a process. Things are a journey. See, a process and a journey, that's different from an event. Event, boom, process. I do this. Then I do this. Boom. Then I do this. Then I do this. Then I do this. And that's what has to happen. It shouldn't be like that complicated when you just stop and think. I don't know how long it was that you've been doing this. Most people, when they talk about it from an addictive process, it's 5 years, 10 years, right? I'm older, so, I was doing it like, I don't know, 30, 40 years. Yeah, 40 years. Whew. Yeah. So if you're doing something 40 years, right, and you're not really paying attention and you keep doing it, like, to not do it, there's probably a little bit more involved than, oh, I'm not going to do it. So again, stop fooling yourself. You cannot do this on your own. I didn't stop on my own. Not too many people I know. You gotta have even if you were gonna stop on your own, you at least need a recipe. So again, reach out. We'll talk about the recipe. Here's some stuff that I know is not that you are missing if you're struggling. Groups. I mean, opposite of addiction, this particular addiction is connection. So you got to have groups in your life. We got groups. I can plug you into some different groups because of the connection. And one of the things that happens in the connection is that you got a whole bunch of shame in your life. And what happens is through these type of connections, you're going to find out that you're not the only one that's going through this or have been through this. And you're also going to learn things like you need healing. We talked about it. I already talked to you. You were wounded when you were a kid, man. Let's not play any games with it anymore. All right. And the only way that you heal is by acknowledging the wound. And so a lot of times we learn how to stuff stuff down. And by stuffing stuff down, we simultaneously learn how to suppress, and that also supports us at becoming emotionally immature because we try to avoid. And so this actually is one of our avoiding mechanisms. One of the things you probably don't even associate with this addiction that I'm going to tell you that has to change is your level of integrity has to change. You lie your ass off way too much. You lie way, way too much. And you know what you lie about. And I bet you, again, not even knowing you, not you, but maybe somebody like you. But I'd bet 50% of you in your conversations, you used to be honest quite frequently in the day. I'm just saying. Now, how do I know what it is that you say? And I don't even know you. Yeah, to be honest, yeah. You hide. You have to learn not to hide. You have to learn how to handle a relapse effectively. Like your slips and these days, those actually that could be your last day if you once you learn how to use it as your best day. Your worst day actually could be your best day. Do you have a first aid kit? Like, you know, and I'll show you how to build one of those, like a kit, like a folder man that you could just reach to. And when you don't feel bad, when you feel like you're almost going to get in trouble, I think it's here. It's hard because of my camera. It's hard, really. Okay, so you see the folder. Good enough. All right. When you feel like you're almost there, like your friend who you want to call, he can't necessarily help you, but you can help yourself. Your friend can't necessarily help you, but you can help yourself with the information that you had if you properly set up a first aid kit. So, all right. Thank you, Cameron, for fixing yourself. So, that's the stuff basically I wanted you to know that is kind of missing. Um, we couldn't get into it as specific as I wanted to because obviously that would be doing like a whole training. But I hope that I hope that I've given you some things to think about that's missing. And if you address those things specifically by learning how to address them by somebody who knows or has been there before, it's going to speed up your process. One of the other things I wanted to mention that's missing is, like, you know, learning what your triggers are and learning like a strategy of how to deal with each and every one of your triggers. And for the most part, again, since being addicted is like a random process, you probably are not aware of every single trigger. You're aware of some of them, but you're not aware of them all. That's part of this journey. And let's see, was yeah, because that's how you feed the addiction. A lot of times when I talk to people or talk, yeah, they tell me, "Oh, I got all this high sex drive." Yeah, yeah. But people that have, like, where they say it's a crazy sex drive, that's because 'cause they're feeding it a certain way. So, I think that's pretty much it. Figure out what the missing ingredients are, or get someone to help you figure out what they are through a process, and then, you will truly be able to have, um sobriety, sexual sobriety. You won't be ruled by sexual thoughts and sexual desires and all that stuff like that. If you're struggling with that stuff, that's because there's stuff that you're doing. You're not aware of what that stuff is. When you become aware of what that stuff is, then systematically you can stop doing it. And then one of the things that makes this whole journey so hard is that as you start to do new things, again, because of the way your mind is set, you want a result right now, and it doesn't work that way. You're to do the work and put your head down in charge, and to do the work, and to do what recovery is, knowing that it works, because that's what other people have done. I told you basically what that's a recovery program. A recovery program will go into depth because there's details, there's intricates. I might have talked about maybe 30 different things, but you could talk about each one of those things like multiple hours, and then to discover what it is that you need to do will take multiple hours. It took multiple hours for you to get to where you are. So it's going to take multiple hours for you to get out of it. If you think that it's something that's going to happen, it's not going to happen. And if you think that after like a week or 30 days or 10 days or something like that, that you have this lick, you don't have this lick. I don't have this lick after 5 years. I mean, I'm not going to have a problem with it myself, but I don't have it licked in terms of knowing everything that there possibly would be to know, just in the beginning process of not doing it. Because, like I said, after you get some supremacy of not doing porn, then what happens is then you start to grow, and then you start to see things and feel things that you didn't feel before. And then they open up additional doors of areas of recovery that you have to do. So, it's a process. It's something that you do. It's not, "Oh, I don't want to do porn today. Oh, I got 2 days. Oh, can I get to a week? I'm excited about this no nut November. Oh yeah, yeah, I'm excited about clean. This is the year. Yeah, 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 yeah." See, that's hyperbole, and that's not going to get you out of an addiction. That might win a football game, but that's not going to get you out of an addiction. It's a methodical process that needs to be deliberate and intentional. And unless you know what the methodical process is for you, it's also individual and unique. You're destined to fail. And that's how come you're failing. I mean, because if you've listened this far, and the only reason why you've listened this far is because you are active in your addiction, it's because you're not addressing in detail the things that I talked about. So anyway, that's all I got for right now. There's a whole podcast. We got some of the stuff in detail in some of the podcasts. Isn't that nice for you? Got it already done. But we don't have it all done. And this again is a journey. So don't think that you can just listen to a podcast. Oh, I listened to a podcast today. And that doesn't mean anything. Did you listen to a podcast and do something? That means something. Did you listen to a podcast and do something? That means something. So listening to a podcast, going to a movie, reading a book, okay, those are nice things. And that's where it starts. But when you read a book, when you go to a meeting, when you do a podcast, take some action on what it is that you learn and do yourself a favor. Don't ever go to a meeting. Don't ever listen to a podcast. Don't ever read a book without having a pen and paper in your hand. You should have a journal about this stuff where you just write the stuff that you learn. Because here's the deal. Let me help you out. If you just sit there passively, oh, yeah, I can remember, yeah, yeah, you're going to remember 10%. If you pull out the pen and then you take notes aggressively, you remember about 50%. If you take notes and remember aggressively and then, talk to me back, oh, I didn't know that. And then talk about my shirt. Oh, yeah, it's a black and white shirt. It's ugly. It doesn't really match that daggone background that you got, and you do all that stuff like that. I would hope you're not doing that. But, if whatever it is you're doing, when you get engaged and you take notes, it like jumps up to 80%. So I'm encouraging you, do stuff differently. You go to a meeting, any kind of meeting, anywhere you're learning some stuff. What is this business about? You're just going to sit there. Don't sit there passively because you're only going to take in 10%. Just by pulling out the notebook and the pen, it jumps up to 50%. You were going to be there anyway. So why not be there and get the value out of it? And that's another thing. You're intentional about life all the way around. I mean, like, why do you do anything? Right? You got to start asking yourself that question. Why do you do anything? So that's it. Reach out. We're here. I know it's tough. That first call is tough, man. I mean, I can't tell you the first meeting that I did, the first call I ever did, man. I was like trembling. I get it. But your freedom is worth much more than, getting through a little bit of shaking on a call. I'm friendly. It's fun. Nobody's going to bite you. But again, you got to get off that, man. That ain't working for you. So reach out to me, Joseph F. Price, Coach Joey P. You can reach me at coachj2020@gmail.com. Until next time, drive with care and walk with caution. God bless you. See you next time.